Welcome back. I want to start today with a sensation that I think is going to be painfully familiar to every single person listening.
Oh, yeah.
It's that specific feeling of pushing a boulder uphill. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
It's that moment where you're just exhausted, your veins are popping out of your forehead, and you're using every single ounce of willpower you have to force a result.
At work, in a relationship, anywhere.
Anywhere,
Yeah.
just trying to get yourself to the gym. And it feels like the universe is pushing back just as hard. It's the art of forcing things. And frankly, it's the most exhausting way to live.
It's the recipe for burnout. It is biologically expensive.
Exactly. It costs so much energy. But then you have the flip side. We've all had those rare, kind of weird, almost magical moments where you stop pushing. You just, I don't know, you let go.
And it clicks.
And suddenly everything clicks. The solution you were banging your head against the wall for just appears. The conversation flows perfectly. The anxiety breaks. We usually call that luck, or maybe being in the flow, or just a coincidence. But today we're asking, what if that isn't luck? What if that is a mechanical function of the mind that we can actually, control?
It is definitely not just luck. It's a specific mental posture. It's the exact opposite of that boulder-pushing feeling. Today, we are exploring the concept of receptivity.
Receptivity. Now, I have to be honest with you, right out of the gate, when I saw receptivity in the stack for this week, my alarm bells went off.
I bet they did.
I thought, okay, here we go. We are going to talk about manifestation. We are going to talk about sitting back, doing nothing, and waiting for a Ferrari to appear in the driveway. It sounded passive. It sounded, well, lazy.
That's the common misconception.
But as I dug into the source material, specifically Thomas Troward's Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science, which dates back to 1909, I realized I was completely wrong. This isn't about passivity at all, is it?
Not even close. In fact, that is the biggest error we need to clear up before we go any further. If you think receptivity means lying on the couch, waiting for the universe to serve you dinner, you're going to be waiting a long, long time.
Okay.
We are looking at Chapter 6 of Troward's work, but we're also layering in some really heavy dossiers on, Stoic philosophy, modern habit formation, and even acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT.
Right.
And the common thread across all of these, spanning 2,000 years, is that receptivity is an active readiness. It is a high-functioning, almost athletic state of the mind.
Active readiness. I want to put a pin in that because it sounds like a contradiction. How can you be receptive and active at the same time? But before we get into the, the nuts and bolts, let's set the stage. We are relying on Thomas Troward here.
We are.
And for those who missed our previous sessions on his earlier chapters, we need to contextualize who this guy was. Because he wasn't a guru. He wasn't some mystic living in a cave.
No, and that is why I love Troward. He was a divisional judge in the Punjab, in British-administered India. This is like 1909. He was a man of the law.
Right.
He spent his entire career looking at evidence, analyzing cause and effect, and making rulings based on pure logic.
Which is such a weird background for someone writing about mental science.
It is, but it explains his tone. When you read the Edinburgh Lectures, he doesn't sound like a preacher. He sounds like a lawyer arguing a case.
He really does.
He approached the mind like a court case. He was looking for the natural law behind mental experiences. He wasn't interested in magic. He was interested in mechanics. He wanted to know, if I think this, why does that happen?
So he treats the universe like a machine that follows rules.
Exactly. So when he talks about receptivity, he isn't describing a spiritual feeling. He is describing a mechanical principle of how intelligence works, almost like a physicist describing how a copper wire receives electricity.
So his core thesis in this chapter is that receptivity is the inner posture that allows a higher pattern of intelligence to express itself through us. That sounds a bit abstract, so let's ground it.
Okay.
If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It does sound abstract until you look at the alternative. And Troward is brilliant at showing us the alternative.
Which is?
The alternative is us trying to create energy from scratch. Troward argues that we as individuals do not create energy. We are not the source. We receive, combine, and transform energy.
Okay, an analogy would help here.
Think about a prism. A glass prism does not create light. It sits there. But when the white light hits it, because of its structure, it receives that light and transforms it into a rainbow.
Right.
If the prism tried to force the rainbow to appear without the light, it couldn't do it. It would just be a piece of glass, straining itself. It has to be perfectly aligned to receive the light. Troward is saying we are the prism.
That is a great image. But I want to push back on this a little bit because I think a lot of us, myself included, have this deep cultural conditioning. We live in a hustle culture.
Oh, absolutely.
If you aren't grinding, you're falling behind. If you aren't the one generating the light, you aren't working hard enough. So when Troward says receive, my brain hears give up control.
Yeah.
How does he distinguish this from just being a couch potato?
This is the crux of the whole chapter. Troward distinguishes between being dead or inert and being alive and ready. He says receptivity is openness without passivity.
Openness without passivity.
And readiness without strain.
Okay, but what does that look like in practice?
Imagine a baseball catcher or a goalkeeper in soccer. Think about their posture. They are not running around the field frantically screaming. They're in a crouch. They are completely still. But are they passive?
No. They are incredibly tense. Well, not tense, but primed.
Exactly. Primed. Every muscle is primed to catch a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Their eyes are hyper-focused. That is receptivity. If they were passive, they would just be sitting in the dirt ignoring the game. But here's the key. If they were forcing, if they were rigid and terrified and trying to predict exactly where the ball would go,
They'd miss it.
they would miss it. They have to be loose enough to react, but firm enough to catch.
I like the baseball analogy because it brings up this idea of tension versus readiness. Troward uses a slightly different analogy in the text, doesn't he? He talks about the sun and the window.
He does. And this goes back to the source idea.
Yeah.
He says, look, you cannot create the sunlight. The sun exists independently of you.
Right.
Your job is not to manufacture photons. Your job is to clean the glass. If your window is covered in mud, which in this metaphor represents our fear, our doubts, our forcing, the light cannot get in.
So cleaning the window is the active part.
Cleaning the window is an active process. You have to get up, get the rag, and scrub. That is the work. But the result, the room filling with light, is something you receive, not something you manufacture.
That distinction between the work and the result is really helpful. It connects to his whole architecture of the mind. We have discussed this in previous sessions, but it is worth a refresher because Trowad's model of the mind is, well, it's specific.
It's very specific. He views spirit not as some kind of ghost, but as pure thought or intelligence.
Raw potential.
Exactly. For Troward, the universe is built on a hierarchy. At the top, you have spirit, which is the living intelligence, the creative impulse. It is the potential for everything. At the bottom, you have matter, which is just the form that spirit takes.
And we're in the middle.
We're in the middle. Troward argues that our job as individuals is to provide the mental soil for that spirit to grow into.
The mental soil. I like that.
Yes. If we are receptive, we allow that higher intelligence to flow through us and create solutions. If we are blocked, we are essentially putting a concrete slab over the soil and wondering why nothing is growing.
And he calls this the personal factor.
Yes, the universal mind is the seed, but we are the soil. The seed cannot grow without the soil. So we are necessary. We aren't just puppets. We are the distributors of this energy.
So let's talk about that concrete slab. Let's talk about the science of alignment and why forcing it usually backfires. Because I think this is where Troward moves from being a philosopher to sounding like a modern neuroscientist.
He really does.
We have all been there. You are trying to solve a problem at work, and you are just hammering away at it. You are getting more and more frustrated. You are drinking more coffee. You are literally clenching your jaw. And your brain just shuts down. You get stupid.
You do get stupid. That is biologically what happens. In our research dossier for this, we look at the architecture of active readiness and found some incredible connections to modern psychology.
What did you find?
What Troward calls nervous strain or forcing, modern science calls psychological rigidity. Yes. When you are in that state, gripping the steering wheel of your life too tight, you literally narrow your cognitive field. You enter a tunnel vision state based on fear. Your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, it just lights up.
It thinks there's a tiger in the room.
But the tiger is just a spreadsheet.
Right.
But your brain doesn't know that.
Right.
And when the amygdala is firing like that, it inhibits the prefrontal cortex. That is the part of your brain responsible for logic, creativity, planning, and problem solving.
So by forcing, you are physically shutting off the very tools you need to solve the problem.
Exactly. You stop seeing options.
You stop seeing the periphery.
Precisely. You block the flow of new information. You are so obsessed with the problem that you cannot see the solution standing right next to you. And this is where we see a beautiful bridge to Stoicism.
Oh, I love when we bring the Stoics into this.
Right.
Because Troward and Epictetus, even though they are separated by nearly 2,000 years, would have had a lot to talk about.
They really would have. We looked at the concept of prosocia.
Prosochi, what is that?
It's the Stoic term for attention or mindfulness. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control the world, we can't control the traffic, the economy, or what our boss thinks, we can control our assent.
Assent.
Yes, we can control whether we agree with our own impressions.
Can you unpack assent a bit? That feels like a dense term.
Sure. Imagine a thought comes into your head. I am going to fail this project. That is an impression. Assent is when you say, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
The Stoics say you can choose not to assent. You can say, that is just a thought. Receptivity, in the Stoic sense, is a discipline of attention. It is the ability to stop inserting your own anxiety into the gap between the problem and the solution.
It's like we're polluting the stream. The solution is trying to flow to us, and we are standing upstream throwing garbage into the water in the form of, what if I fail, or I have to fix this right now?
That is a perfect description. And if we look at acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, they have a term for this shift. It's about moving from a closed state to an open state.
Okay, break down closed versus open in a clinical sense.
A closed state is defensive, rigid, and fear-based. It is characterized by what they call experiential avoidance. You're trying to avoid a feeling, usually the feeling of uncertainty.
The not knowing.
Yes. You were forcing the result because you were terrified of not knowing the answer. An open state is curious and expansive. It involves cognitive diffusion, looking at your thoughts rather than from your thoughts.
And Troward was all over this in 1909.
He nailed it. He called it the objective mind versus the subjective mind. When we stop striving and start observing what researchers call open monitoring, the stress centers in the brain quiet down. This allows the higher cognitive functions to come back online.
So biologically, forcing makes us incapable of seeing the answer. Receptivity turns the lights back on.
Effectively, yes. It cuts us off from our own best resources. Receptivity is the switch that reconnects us.
Okay, so we know what receptivity is. Active readiness, cleaning the window. We know why forcing is bad. It blocks the flow and shuts down our brain. So what gets in the way?
The blocks.
If this is so natural, why is it so hard for us to do? Why is my default setting panic and push? Troward identifies a few specific barriers in this chapter, doesn't he?
He does, and they are painfully relatable. The first one is the most obvious. Fear. Specifically, the fear that if we let go of the steering wheel, the car will crash.
Right.
We have this deep-seated belief that our anxiety is the only thing holding our lives together.
Oh, I feel that. It is like superstitious worrying. I have to worry about this flight or the plane will go down. Like my worry is a structural component of the airplane.
Exactly. It is magical thinking. We think our stress is a fuel. Troward says this fear creates a contraction in the mind. He actually describes it as a physical tightening of the mental substance. And that contraction repels the solution.
It's like trying to put water into a clenched fist.
You can't do it. You have to open the hand.
But there is a more subtle block that he spends a lot of time on, and that is contradiction. This one felt huge to me when I was reading it.
This is the big one. This is thinking I want success, but feeling I am not good enough. Or thinking I want to be wealthy, but deeply believing money is evil.
It's trying to drive with the parking brake on.
Exactly. Troward uses the analogy of a blueprint. He says you cannot build a solid structure if your blueprints are full of contradictions. Imagine giving a builder a blueprint where a wall and a door are drawn in the exact same spot.
The builder just stops. They can't do anything.
The builder stops. He can't proceed. Troward says the universal mind works the same way. If you are sending out a desire for growth, but your internal receptive state is screaming, I am unworthy or it's too hard, you are canceling out your own request.
You're planting a seed and then digging it up every hour to see if it has roots.
That's a great way to put it. And that image of digging up the seed is so powerful, it creates this frantic energy. It also connects to the third block, mental noise.
The constant chatter of how is this going to happen? When is it going to happen?
Troward is very strict about this. He warns against anxious thought as to the means.
Anxious thought as to the means. That is such a lawyer phrase.
It is, but translate it. It means obsessing over the how. This is a trap we all fall into. We set a goal, say we want a new job, and immediately we obsess over the specific way it has to happen.
I have to get an email from this recruiter by this date or it's over.
Yes. We try to micromanage the universe. We need to know every step of the journey before we take the first one. Troward argues that if you are obsessed with the how, You are not receptive to the what.
So you're so busy looking for a specific door to open that you don't see the window that just unlatched.
Exactly. You are dictating to the universe exactly how it has to help you, which limits the possibilities to only what your limited logical mind can conceive of.
It is like telling a master chef not just that you are hungry, but telling them exactly how to chop the onions, what pan to use, and how high to turn the heat.
You are getting in the way of the expert. And in this metaphor, the expert is that higher intelligence. Troward says, trust the law of growth. You plant the seed, you water it, and you trust that the seed knows how to become a tree.
You don't have to sit there and explain to the seed how to make bark.
It knows. I love that.
Okay, let's move this out of the abstract and into the real world, because I think people listening in might be thinking, okay, this sounds nice philosophically, but I have a deadline at 5 p.m.
Fair enough.
I want to walk through 3 practical examples of what this looks like versus what the forcing approach looks like. Let's start with work and problem solving.
Great. So, the scenario is you have hit a wall on a project.
Right.
Maybe you are writing a report or coding or trying to come up with a marketing strategy. You are stuck.
The forcing approach is the classic all-nighter mentality. You are staring at the screen. Your eyes are burning. You are drinking a 4th cup of coffee. You feel that tightness in your chest.
Typing and deleting, typing and deleting.
Yes, you are
Yeah.
actually getting angry at the project.
Yes.
You are treating the work like an enemy that needs to be defeated.
And Troward would call this nervous strain. You are trying to use your individual limited brain power to force a connection that isn't there. You are operating from a place of lack. The underlying assumption is, I don't have the answer and I must force it out.
So what does the receptive approach look like in that moment? Do I just close the laptop and walk away?
Step 1 is stepping back, yes, but it is an internal step first.
No.
You adopt what Troward calls a consciously neutral will.
Consciously neutral. What does that mean?
It means you admit, I do not see the solution right now, and that is okay. You take a breath. You stop identifying with the failure. Then you might actually go for a walk, but while you are walking, you are not obsessing.
Right.
You are holding the idea of the finished project lightly in your mind. You are saying, I am open to the answer. You are allowing for an incubation period.
This reminds me of the Graham Wallace model of creativity. He talks about preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. We always want to skip the incubation.
We do. We want to go straight from preparation to illumination. But the incubation is where the magic happens. The answer often comes when we stop strangling the problem.
And by relaxing the grip?
You allow your subconscious, what Troward calls the subjective mind, to process the data you have already fed it. And suddenly, you are in the shower or driving home or washing the dishes and ping, the idea lands. That is receptivity. You created the space for the answer to arrive.
I have definitely experienced that. It is always when you are doing the dishes or something mundane. It's annoying, actually. You spend 6 hours staring at the screen and get nothing. Then you go fold laundry and the idea hits you.
Because you finally cleaned the window. You finally removed the mud of anxiety.
Okay, example 2. Relationships. This is a tough one. Let's say you are in a difficult conversation with a partner or a colleague. Tensions are high.
The forcing approach here is listening to respond. We all do this. While they are talking, you are not really listening. You are essentially a lawyer preparing your rebuttal.
You're just waiting for them to take a breath so you can jump in.
Yes. You are scanning their sentences for errors. Aha, they said Tuesday, but it was actually Wednesday. I win. You are tense, defensive, and your goal is to win. You want to force your point of view into their brain.
Which never works. It just makes them put up their walls. It turns into a siege.
It creates resistance. Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you push, they push back.
So the receptive approach.
It's listening to receive. This connects to the concept of reciprocal action, giving and receiving life. You decide, I am going to create a space for their truth to land. You don't have to agree with it, you don't have to like it, but you are going to be a clear window.
You let their words come in without immediate judgment.
Without judgment.
That is so hard to do in the heat of the moment. It feels like surrender.
It feels like surrender, but it is actually control. It is incredible discipline. Because what happens is, when you stop pushing, they stop pushing back. You lower the entropy in the room. By being receptive, you actually gain control of the dynamic, not by force, but by presence. You are signaling safety. You are saying, I am big enough to hear this.
So by not forcing your agenda, You actually create an opening for a real solution to emerge that both people can live with.
Precisely. You align with the spirit of connection rather than the matter of who is right and who is wrong. You move up the hierarchy.
Okay, third example. This one is huge for our listeners. Habits and personal change. Let's say someone is trying to quit a bad habit, maybe smoking or doom scrolling or start a new workout routine.
The forcing approach is white-knuckling it. It is waking up and saying, I am going to hate this, but I'm going to force myself to do it. It is shaming yourself when you slip up. It is the struggle mentality.
I have to fight my own laziness.
Exactly. And we know from the ACT research that willpower is a depletable resource. If you are fighting yourself, you will eventually get tired. The part of you that wants a donut will eventually beat the part of you that wants the salad, if it is a war.
And then you binge or quit, and you feel even worse. You add shame to the failure.
Right. The receptive approach is fascinating here. It starts by identifying the underlying fear. Why do I have this bad habit? Usually it is a coping mechanism. I doom scroll because I am anxious.
Okay.
Then, instead of fighting the old habit, you replace the grip with a new, calm assumption. You view the new habit not as a rock you have to push up a hill, but as a seed you have planted.
A seed needs water and sun, not shouting.
Exactly. You assume, I am the kind of person who enjoys moving my body, or
Yeah.
I am becoming someone who eats healthy. You are receptive to this new identity. You nurture it.
And if you miss a day?
You don't scream at the seed. You don't stomp on the garden. You just water it the next day. You trust the law of growth. You align with the new version of yourself rather than fighting the old version.
I love that shift from fighting the old to aligning with the new. It feels so much lighter. It feels like you are working with your biology instead of against it.
It is lighter. And because it is lighter, it is sustainable. Troward would say, you are allowing the universal life principle to express itself as health or vitality through you. You are just opening the channel.
All right, we have talked about the theory, the science, and the examples. Now I want to get practical. We promised a guided exercise, a receptivity reset.
Let's do
I want everyone listening to do this with us right now. Unless you are driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but you can still do the mental part. If you are walking the dog or doing dishes, just pause for a second.
This is a tool to shift from forcing to flowing in about 2 minutes. It is a way to manually reset your mental posture.
Okay, let's walk through it. Step 1, notice the grip.
Scan your life right now. Identify one area, just one, where you are pushing, forcing, or physically tense. Maybe it is a deadline. Maybe it is a relationship that feels rocky. Maybe it's a financial worry. Don't try to solve it. Just find it.
And feel where that tension lives in your body. Is it your jaw, your shoulders, your stomach? Just notice it. Acknowledge, I am gripping here.
Got it.
I can feel it in my shoulders. Okay, step 2, identify the fear.
Ask yourself, what is the assumption underneath that grip? What are you afraid will happen if you stop pushing? Is it, if I don't force this, I will go broke? Is it, if I don't control this conversation, they will leave me?
Right.
Be honest. The grip is there to protect you from something. Find the fear.
That is the hard part, looking that fear in the eye. It is usually something ugly, like, I am not enough. Okay, step 3, replace with a simple assumption.
This is the Troward flip. This is the moment of cleaning the window. Swap that fear-based assumption for a calm, open statement. It doesn't have to be everything is perfect. It doesn't have to be toxic positivity.
So what can it be?
It could just be, I am ready to receive the solution, or I am open to the right next step, or I trust that I can handle what comes.
I am open to the right next step. I like that. It's simple.
Say it internally. Feel the difference in your body when you switch from the fear thought to the open thought.
It is like an exhale. The shoulders drop a bit. Step 4, take one outward action.
Receptivity is active, remember. We aren't just thinking happy thoughts. Do one small physical thing that matches this new, calm assumption. If you are stressed about work, maybe the action is tidying your desk.
Or if you're stressed about a relationship, maybe it is sending a calm, kind text. Or maybe it is putting your phone away.
Unclench your jaw. Do something that signals to your nervous system, we are safe, we are ready.
And finally, step 5, remove one contradiction.
This is crucial. Stop saying the thing that undermines your goal. If you want health, stop complaining about how tired you are for just 1 hour. If you want a solution at work, stop telling your coworker how impossible the project is.
Just for the next hour.
Just for a bit. Align your speech with your desire. It stops you from digging up the seed. It lets the blueprint be clear.
Before we wrap up, let's troubleshoot. Because I know myself and I know our listeners, we are going to try this and we are going to screw it up.
It happens.
What are the common mistakes people make when they try to practice this? Because it sounds simple, but simple isn't easy.
The first mistake, which we touched on, is confusing receptivity with doing nothing. The fix is remembering that you must show up. You have to be at the window to clean it. You have to be in the game to catch the ball. Don't check out, check in, but without the tension.
Okay, mistake number 2.
Stopping too soon. Troward talks about the law of growth. It takes time. Nature does not hurry. People try receptivity for 20 minutes, don't see a miracle, and go back to forcing. The fix is patience. Don't dig up the seed to see if it's growing. Trust the process.
And mistake number 3.
Allowing fear to dictate the means. This is obsessing over the how. The fix is to focus on the end, the outcome you want, and let the means reveal themselves. Trust that the intelligence that created the problem knows how to solve it better than you do.
Mistake number 4 is one I'm guilty of, intellectualizing without feeling.
Yes, you can understand this logically. You can agree with Troward. But if you don't feel the relief in your body, you aren't actually being receptive. You're just thinking about receptivity. The fix is to check your body. Are you breathing? Are your shoulders down? You must feel the alignment.
And the final mistake.
Ignoring the contradictions. You cannot drive with the parking brake on. If you are doing all the right things but constantly speaking negatively or harboring deep self-doubt, you are blocked. The fix is cognitive diffusion. Catch those contradictory thoughts and diffuse them. Don't let them take root.
This has been a massive unpacking of what it really means to be open. It is dense stuff. Let's recap the main points for everyone to take away.
Okay, first, receptivity is an active state of readiness, not a passive state of waiting.
Right. Second, we do not create power. We receive and distribute it, like the prism.
Exactly. Third, the main block to this flow is internal contradiction and fear.
And fourth, forcing creates resistance. Alignment creates momentum.
Fifth, we must trust the law of growth just as a gardener trusts the soil.
Sixth, calm attention is the mechanism that clears the mental channel.
Finally, removing the grip allows the higher intelligence to act through us.
So what does this all mean? It means we can stop pushing the boulder. We can step aside and let gravity, or in this case, spirit, do the heavy lifting. It is about trust, really.
It is.
Trusting that there is a pattern of intelligence that wants to work for us if we just stop blocking it.
Absolutely. And this leads perfectly into our next session. We have talked about the inner posture, but next time we're going to look at the structure of the universe itself.
That is right. Episode 7 is going to be on universal and individual mind. We are going to explore how your specific individuality connects to the infinite whole without losing itself. It's going to be a mind bender.
I can't wait. It really completes the picture Troward is painting.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.